What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 27 of the Silver and Gold. I'm Josh.
And I'm Mike.
And today, we had a little technical difficulties right before this, but I think Mike's internet is doing good. I think my internet's doing good, and we are ready to, roll. Mike, is there anything interesting going on around the league that, you want to discuss before we get into our topics?
Honestly, right now we're at the point 3 weeks to go where I think the seeding in the playoffs is very interesting. And obviously there were quite a few teams that were eliminated from playoff contention this past weekend. Teams like the Titans, the Jets. I want to say the Falcons weren't eliminated, but they practically eliminated themselves, losing to the Panthers. There were just a few teams.
Eliminated.
Yeah, the Patriots. There were just a few teams that I kind of wanted to not really talk about, but just bring up. I remember a couple weeks ago I mentioned there were two teams in the NFC that were rising and looked like real wild card threats. And those teams were the Packers and the Rams, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm off the Packers, but I am feeling even stronger about the Rams. I think the Rams are a threat. I think they can go into the playoffs. They're so well coached. Sean McVay, I think he could beat anybody. Not the Niners, but he could go out there and I honestly think one of the best wild card matchups that could potentially happen. It'd be one of the most interesting wild card matchups I could remember. Imagine the Los Angeles Rams earning themselves the 6th seed in the NFC. And they go to Detroit. And you have Matt Stafford go up against his old team in their first ever home playoff game in how long? Dude.
So
that would be amazing.
Matt Stafford would be playing in a Lion playoff game after all.
Right. That would be really cool. And then
I feel like he's at least had to have had one, right? They probably... No, they didn't ever make the playoffs with him, huh?
I don't know if they did. If they did, it was once, but they definitely didn't win, and it definitely wasn't a division win. The Packers owned that division all that time. So, and then over in the AFC, the team that's gaining steam is the Buffalo Bills. Right now, I think they're the 8th or 9th seed, but I honestly don't see them not making the playoffs, and I don't even think this is a bold prediction. I think they're going to win the division. I think they're going to win the AFC East. Their next...
Is it between them and the Dolphins?
The Dolphins, yeah. The Dolphins are the 2 seed. I want to say the Ravens are 11-3, Dolphins 10-4, Chiefs probably have 9 wins, and the Jags are the 4 seed, tied in a 3-way tie at 8-6 with the Texans and the Colts for the AFC South. That's going to be interesting. But the Bills are also 8-6. There's 5 or 6 teams that are 8-6 in the AFC, and 2 of them are sitting on the outside looking in, which is insane because almost every NFC wildcard team is 7-7 or worse.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's one game, but still, it's a difference between a winning record by 2 games or 500.
Mhm.
And then you have a team like the Raiders who are 6-8, and they're not eliminated yet, but in the NFC they'd have a good shot. In the AFC, no.
Mhm.
Um,
Speaking of NFC and like playoff implications, I just want to point out that the Niners won the NFC West yesterday.
yes, they did.
Yeah, they officially won, and I didn't. This isn't like a hat for a specific year, but like you can see, I've got the mark on my forehead right now. Like it's not that the hat is too tight; it's just the fit on it. They put too much they made it too stiff in the front. So now I've got like I've got a third eye going on like on my forehead. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that
I got this hat
that
specifically because it didn't have a year on it, and I can bust it out any year that I want when they win the West. So
I would
um,
love to have a hat like that for the Raiders when they
yeah, but they're
eventually
in the
someday.
AFC.
They're in the AFC and the AFC West. Like here's the thing about the AFC West. Okay, Patriots, Titans, Steelers. You look back the past 10 plus years. Sorry, those three teams owned their divisions. Right, the Steelers had great uh, battles with the Ravens. Right, you had the Bengals the past couple years, but like up until maybe 2 or 3 years ago, the Steelers owned the AFC North. The Titans for at least like 5 years, right ish, with Mike Vrabel, just own the AFC South. And you had the Colts before that and whatever, but and then obviously the Patriots were the Patriots. The three of those teams, the Patriots, Titans, and Steelers, the teams notoriously owning their divisions, are either eliminated from the playoffs or all of them are in fourth place in their division. And then you have the Chiefs in the AFC West, who just, no matter what happens, no matter how bad the receivers are, yada, 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 they're always going to be in first, right? Hopefully that's not
Mhm.
true. I'm praying on their downfall. I'm literally praying on their downfall.
You
Um,
hater.
I will absolutely be a Chiefs hater and a Broncos hater and a Chargers hater. So, you know, what happened with the Raiders and the Chargers is very fun.
We're gonna get right into it. Joel says, "Salute my boys, Joel. Thank you for your continued support of the channel." We're gonna get into some Raiders talk, just for you, Joel. How about that? Um, Raiders versus Chargers. Mike, tell me about it. What happened? Did the Raiders score 0 points again? Is that what happened?
They did quite the opposite. They scored as many touchdowns as they could, almost. They didn't break the NFL record, but they broke their franchise record for most points scored in a game. Um, I remember when the Raiders scored 59 points on the Broncos in 2010. I was in absolute, um, essentially in awe, when I watched that game. And then this game happens on Thursday night against the Chargers, 63 points. Yeah, it was insane. I mean, 42 points, 42 to nothing at halftime.
Dude, I think I called you when the Raiders were up 14-0. And I called to talk about like fantasy football because I think Jordan picked up Zamir White. And like before the game started, I was like teetering on whether I was gonna like switch my pick to the Chargers or not. And then I called you. I was like, thank God I stayed with the Raiders, just for the sake of being right. Um and like you were like, well, now it's 21-0. I think like while we were talking on the phone, and man, you were just like, man, if we're gonna win, make it be a blowout. You're like, for fuck's sake, make it be a blowout. And I was just like cracking up. Are you still here, Mike? Mike, can you hear me? Are we having technical difficulties again, Mike? Hold on 1 second. We're gonna get through this. We're not gonna restart like we did earlier. You're back? You back? Mike? Can you hear
How do
me?
I look? Yeah.
You look great. You look great.
Oh, fantastic. All right, well then let's get through this.
Okay.
Malcolm Kuntz, 2 sacks, 2 strip sacks, forced fumbles on both of them. He did that on 33 snaps. Just for comparison, Jack Jones, 53 snaps, gets a pick six. Greatest interception I've ever seen, maybe.
That pick was nuts. It was like one-handed, and I think, we talked about it a little bit before the show, or like, the other day. You were saying he almost outruns the pass. Like, he knew exactly what was coming, and I think that's a testament to the fact that he's been watching film.
Yeah, I absolutely. That play over any other play in the game, that was the play that excited me the most. Not because he picked it off one-handed. It was because once Austin Eckler went from being split out wide to getting motion towards, inside, he follows him because he's in man coverage, but he knows that the ball is immediately getting thrown to him. And he picks it off. He gets the pick six. That is something I have been waiting to see on this defense for a long time. A corner that has the awareness to know, based off of the film, this is happening. That's nice. And I don't know how many snaps Crosby played. I know he usually plays all the snaps on defense pretty much. But from what I saw, Jack Jones played the most snaps among any other defender in this game, which tells me that he is the starting corner on this team, and he played like it. And that gives me a lot of hope moving forward. Another player that played really well on defense was Marcus Epps. Divine Diablo led the team with 12 tackles, including a 4th-and-1 stop. And then, Max Crosby is doing his thing, getting a tackle for loss, just disrupting, And then Jerry Tillery also just absolutely disrupting in the backfield. He got a sack in this game. I really early in the game, and then at the end of the game, the defense just took over. Like, the reason why the Raiders were able to go up 21-0 in the first quarter was because of the defense. 2 straight drives on forced fumbles, strip sacks, yada yada. And then at the end, another strip sack by Malcolm Kuntz allows our nose tackle, John Jenkins, to return that thing with a fat man score. That was
love
hilarious.
That play. I always love to see, like, when offensive linemen or defensive linemen are able to pick up the ball and run with it. Like, it just, once they start going, like, the announcers, you can even tell, like, in the announcer's voice, like, oh, he's got the ball. Like, there's no other, like, you can't get announcers excited like that for any other play.
Yeah, because it's always probably the most rare play. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I loved it. And I'll get back to, like, the turnovers and stuff, because there's one key point to make, but I have to talk about the young studs on offense. Michael Mayer with a touchdown. I've been saying it literally all season, and I still stand by it. He needs to get more targets. Hopefully next season can really start that. Hopefully these next 3 weeks, to finish it out. Get him more targets. Just throw him the ball. There was a play, I think, where in the red zone, it was like an option route where, he runs about 7-8 steps up, and he realizes, okay, the linebacker's in zone, and it's softer on the inside, so he cuts in and immediately turns towards Aiden O'Connell and puts his hands up like, hey, throw it to me, I'm open. That's what you do. That's what you have your tight end do. Get him in a place. That's what Travis Kelce excels on. That is why Travis Kelce has made his money, is those option routes where he just, I can see where the defender's going to be before it even happens. Open. 15-yard gain.
Well, he's about to make
First down.
all his money if he marries Taylor Swift. I'll tell you, he'll be much richer after that.
I hope he retires. Yeah, but just get Michael Mayer the ball, point blank. Trey Tucker. Finally a breakout game for Trey Tucker, the 3rd-round pick. 2 touchdowns, I think, on 3 receptions. So I'd like to see him get more integrated in this offense as well. A week ago against the Vikings, Hunter Renfrow had a big fumble. I don't know what Hunter Renfrow's cap number looks like for next season. I'm pretty sure next season is his final year under contract with the Raiders. I can see Trey Tucker taking a lot of snaps from Renfro in these next couple weeks. We'll see. I think for me, besides Malcolm Kuntz and Jack Jones, the player of the game for me was Thayer Munford. Starting at left tackle, all season he's been the backup right tackle. This is his second year in the pros. He was a 7th-round pick, and he balled. He absolutely balled out at left tackle. He looks comfortable. And again, second-year pro. He's been a backup swing tackle. Looked like the starting left tackle for this team. Yeah, there is nothing that gives me more, for lack of a better term, hope, but comfort in seeing a backup tackle go out there and just not allow anything to happen. Some of the offensive linemen might have gave up a pressure or two, but none of the starting offensive linemen gave up a sack in this game. Another player that looked great who was a backup, Jordan Meredith at left guard. Okay, Colt Miller, left tackle, out. Andre James, the center, out. Dylan Parham, our left guard, slides over to center. He was drafted to be able to play both positions, guard or center. Really, I think he was drafted to become the eventual starter at center. So we'll see what happens, because I want to say Andre James is either a free agent or he has no guarantees left on his deal, and the Raiders could free up some space if they feel that Parham is worth keeping at center. Meredith had a great game too, though. Backup left guard. He looks like a starter, at least in this game. And then Jermaine Illuminor, same as usual, solid game at right tackle. Nothing to complain about. I'd say the major change in this game that everybody noticed, or at least if you think about it, you would say, oh, I see the difference. Bo Hardegree was up in the box. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Bo Hardegree was up in the box all season. As long as he has been the offensive coordinator, he has been on the sidelines. And then against the Chargers, he's up in the box. All of a sudden, this offense looks like the Chiefs' offense. They're out there throwing. They're doing a dump off pass to Jacoby Myers, and then he throws to Devontae Adams twice, once for a touchdown. You also had a wildcat play, just out of nowhere. The 4th-string running back, I can't even remember his name, number 34. He's like 32 plus years old.
Is it Brandon Bolden?
Brandon Bolden, thank you, yeah. Gets the wildcat and runs 20, 25 yards upfield for the touchdown. It's his only play on offense this season. Wildcat touchdown. Like, where was this? I'm sure it's because they were up 28, 35, 42 to nothing. But like, okay, Bo Hardegree, stay up in the box. Let's see how these next 3 weeks go. And then here's my thing about like Antonio Pierce, Patrick Graham. These next 3 weeks, like, okay, the Vikings game, a lot of fans are saying like, there it is. There's your nail in the coffin. Antonio Pierce, get him out of here. When the season ends, we got to go get Jim Harbaugh. We got to go get Ben Johnson, right? Let's go get a big time head coach. Let's hold our horses. Let's just wait a second, because that defensive effort against the Chargers was inspired. Absolutely inspired. You could tell the difference between the two coaching staffs, between the Raiders and the Chargers. And there is something to be said, and this is what I was kind of hinting at earlier and saying I had more to say about the defense. I saw a lot of people saying, well, what if the Chargers players played like shit just to get their coach fired? That never happens. There's no chance. There's no way. Now, a coach can lose a locker room, absolutely. They could play bad football because their coach isn't good, right?
You froze for a second, Mike. Yeah, I can hear you.
Say it again.
No, I just said that you froze for a second. You're back.
Okay. Bad coaching can lead to bad teams, but a team will never purposefully play bad to get a coach fired. I'm sorry, that'll never happen. For one, every player is out there looking out for themselves. Okay, every player wants to stat pad as best they can, right? They want to, because think about it. Okay, every Charger player whose contract is coming up at the end of the season needs to play well to earn their next contract. So
Austin Eckler.
why would they give a shit about whether or not the coach gets fired? It's a matter of how good do we play as a collective, and of course myself, Austin Eckler, right? So I don't want to hear that the Chargers players gave up because they don't like their coach. No, don't do that. Now on the very opposite end of the spectrum, again, inspired defense by led by Antonio Pierce and Patrick Graham. There's something to be said there. Okay, I know the Vikings game was tough, but all season I've said it. The defense has kept them in games. That's inspired defense. No matter how bad the offense is, they're out there busting their balls to try to win games. So again, that's something to be said. Coming out of halftime, the sideline reporter gets Antonio Pierce on the TV, asks him, you're up 42-0. What are you going to do? He says, and I quote, "Press the gas pedal even harder. We're not done here."
This is the same Antonio Pierce that didn't he when he was a high school head football coach blow out a team like 99-0? Something like that.
Something like that, yeah. But also, I don't blame him at all because his job's on the line, right? He's got to go out there any given week and do his best to coach his best and hopefully win games, right? He's got to go out there and prove, hey, I deserve this job. And I think I think when you look at the defense, there's something to be very happy about, and there's certain promise and hope paired in that. And
as Joel says, it feels good for you guys to finally have a minimum top 15 defense.
Absolutely. Can you pull up the I think it's the most recent tweet that I sent you on Twitter. It shows all the stats for the Raiders defense. Meanwhile, I'm just going to say this. I've seen Dallas Cowboys games this season where the Cowboys just kill a team 41 to 14, right? The Cowboys are destroying a team. Or the best example would be Thanksgiving, right? It's the end of the game. It's clearly over. And the camera cuts to Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott. Take away the whole turkey leg situation that night, right? But the camera cuts.
Most recent tweet?
Whichever one has to do with the Raiders defense. You'll see it.
Okay. This one?
Let me see. No, but that's a good one too. Let me see.
Resend it to me.
Oh no! Go up above some of the DC stuff. Keep going. There she is. So there's that. For anybody wondering about the Raiders defense this season, very good. All things considered, when I'm used to 28th overall defense, the worst stat here is turnovers being 19th best in the league. Give me another playmaker that can get better, But my point on the Cowboys have destroyed teams multiple times this season, and towards the end of the game, the camera always pans to Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott, and they're on the sidelines laughing it up. Oh, ha, ha, ha. We're the America's team, blah, blah, blah. And they're happy. And they're like, they're already celebrating. The game isn't over, It is over in theory, but you know what I mean? But they're happy. They're smiling. They're laughing on the sideline. Multiple times in this game, the Raiders are up 63-21. Whatever it may be. The camera cuts to Antonio Pierce. He looks pissed off the entire time. I like that. That's all I have to say about that. Um, but that's about all I had on the Raiders and the Chargers game. I don't know if you have anything.
No, man, I still think a lot is yet to be determined on whether or not Antonio Pierce is going to be like the long-term head coach for the Raiders. Do I think that winning against a divisional opponent helps? Yes. Do you kind of take it with a grain of salt because the Chargers didn't have Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen, who are like two of their top, like that was their offense before that game. Like you take away Herbert and Allen, it's like, you know, if you had Keenan Allen, it's like, okay, maybe Easton Stick might have a chance to, score a couple points. And he was able to do something with Josh Palmer and with Quentin Johnston and finding those two guys for touchdowns. And I mean, really, Palmer's touchdown, like it was practically, I feel like both touchdowns were like kind of garbage time at that point. And, Josh Palmer just beat, I don't remember who the corner was on
On
that route.
on the first
And
one, like the 74-yarder, it was like a busted coverage. It looked
yeah.
like I've seen a lot of back and forth between it was Amik Robertson's fault or Trevon Merrick's. I personally believe it was Amik Robertson's, but I'm not fully sure.
Mm-hmm. So I think that the next couple weeks are going to probably have a bigger impact on whether or not Antonio Pierce remains as the head coach of the Raiders or not. I still, I think, I don't know. You have to explore options, even like you have to. I think if you're Mark Davis, you have to explore all options, even if Antonio Pierce, like, has the team in a good place. Like, you might point to the Rich Bisaccia or Rick Bisaccia. I don't know how he wants it pronounced. You might point to that, and it's like you're making the same mistake. But no, I think each situation is a little bit different. So, you know, in going towards Bisaccia, the Bisaccia route, and that you should have hired him, I don't think that should be the sole reason as to why you keep Antonio Pierce as head
Yeah,
coach.
no. I think exactly. I think at the end of the day, Antonio Pierce needs to prove what Antonio Pierce can prove. Um, and then come the offseason, I mean, the Raiders, obviously now the Chargers. I mean, that was a prediction I said was this Charger game should be the reason why Brandon Staley gets fired. I didn't know it was going to be 63 points, that was going to be the reason. But
Mm-hmm.
I figured the Raiders would win this game, and the Chargers, Brandon Staley, backs against the wall. They expect to win this game. Yeah, no, they got blown out and he got fired, as well as Telesco, their GM. So Raiders, Chargers, Panthers, they have the lead on looking for new head coaching candidates. But at the end of the day, I think Antonio Pierce deserves a fair shot, but I also believe that every other candidate also deserves a fair shot. I don't want it to be determined week 17, a week before the season. I don't want to see the rumor that, oh, Mark Davis is going to hire Jim Harbaugh, because that's what happened with John Gruden. It was like an hour after the final week of the season, when they fired Jack Del Rio, before they fired Jack Del Rio, it was like Jack Del Rio's going to get fired, John Harbaugh's coming aboard. And then 2 days later, it was boom, done. It was like, that doesn't make any sense. I want to see a fair shot given to whoever the next coach is. And honestly, right now, I'm leaning Antonio Pierce.
All right. Before we get into the Raiders Chiefs preview, I do want to address this comment that's more on the Niners side. But Coach Ingles, thank you for checking out the channel again. It says MV Purdy, MVP Purdy, and not just because I bet it week 4 before Dallas and got plus 1,500 odds. Sounds like you're gonna be rich, Coach Ingles, because I agree with you. I think Brock Purdy is definitely in the lead to win MVP, and if he doesn't get voted MVP, then it probably should be Christian McCaffrey. So hopefully you have a little bit of money on both, but I would pick Brock Purdy just because it's like you have all of the 49er weapons sort of like all contributing, and Brock Purdy is he's kind of he puts it all together.
The driving
So
force. Yeah.
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 And then also when
Yeah. I
we'll,
think right
we'll
now,
talk about it when Right now with what?
Yeah. No, I think right now, if I were getting a vote, it'd be towards Brock Purdy. But I also think that I think Dak's officially out of it after that Bills performance. Um, I think it's going to end up being between Brock Purdy, who I do think is going to get it, and Lamar Jackson. And I think that this Christmas will be very important in that race. But if the Niners win, it's easily hey, nice. It's
Yeah.
easily Purdy. I think honestly, I would actually still argue maybe Christian McCaffrey actually deserves it more, but the throws that Purdy's making right now, not many quarterbacks are making them. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. So I also want to add, I feel like where Lamar Jackson and Brock Purdy sort of differ is I think Lamar Jackson has a lot of turnovers. He has much more turnovers than probably Brock Purdy does. I would have to look up the
yeah,
stats, but you know,
yeah.
I do
I'd have to
know
look
that
at.
I've had Lamar in fantasy and he fumbles every so often. And, just last night I saw him roll to the right and throw an interception. So,
Oh yeah. You're right.
yeah.
He also made some plays though in that game that nobody else in this league is making.
Hmm.
And his pocket awareness. This is just me as a Raider fan looking towards hopefully a mobile quarterback of the future. Lamar Jackson's pocket awareness is so amazing. Um, but I will say this is my one thing with Lamar Jackson relative to Purdy. Like you mentioned, Purdy has all the weapons surrounding him, and Purdy is what drives that offense. Lamar Jackson, to me, doesn't have nearly the weapons, and yet they're the clear cut number one in the AFC. You know, I think there's something to be said there.
Hmm. Well, I don't think his weapons are bad. Like, I think Zay Flowers is a pretty good receiver. I think Odell Beckham Jr. is pretty good. Mark Andrews, he was playing and then he went down. I don't think Isaiah Likely is a bad tight end. But we'll talk about that more when we get into the Niners. Let's go ahead and sort of bring it back to the Raiders versus Chiefs preview. Um, Mike, what are your instant thoughts? Like, what do you think? Are you guys going to put up 63 on Kansas City and do a couple bus laps around the stadium again?
I'm thinking the bus laps will never happen again. At least I pray, as long as Patrick Mahomes is there and Andy Reid, that they never do that again. Um, this is a big game for the Chiefs because, like I sort of hinted at, the Dolphins have a tough schedule coming up. They have, I think, Cowboys. I'm forgetting who they have the following week. Am I? I'm not sure. The Dolphins have the Cowboys, somebody else, and then they finish with the Bills. And that somebody else is not an easy team. It's like it might be the Eagles.
Dolphins have Cowboys, Ravens, Bills. Oof,
Ravens.
good
So
luck.
even tougher. Yeah. So I think the Dolphins very well might lose out. And I think the Bills are going to win out. That's why I mentioned that I think the Bills are going to win that division. Um, so if the Dolphins do lose out, that gives the Chiefs the clear cut, um, you know,
Path.
straight path, straight to the 2 seed. Unfortunately, I need the Ravens to win some of those games, especially that Dolphins game, and then whoever the Ravens face. I want to say it's the Steelers, the final week of the season. They need to win that game too, and stay above the Chiefs because, for the love of God, I do not need to see the Chiefs getting home field advantage again. You know, just I'm so over this. If they get the AFC Championship at home this year, it's either 6 or 7 straight years. I think 6. So let's see it in Baltimore, please. Um, with that being said, uh, at Kansas City, Christmas morning, 10 a.m. Can the Raiders get a Christmas miracle? What do you think?
Um, I don't see a Christmas miracle, Mike. I'm sorry. Antonio Pierce, he just steamrolled the Chargers, but the Chiefs are not the Chargers. Easton Stick, I'm sorry, is not going to be playing in this game. Uh, Patrick Mahomes is going to be playing, and while their offense has been inconsistent, we sort of had this conversation just a couple weeks ago about like which offense was going to be more inconsistent between the Raiders and the Chiefs. And, I just think that when you have Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Travis Kelce, all right, Travis Kelce, he's not the same this year. He used to be like classic Coke. Right now, he is Diet Pepsi. He's just, I don't know, man. I feel like he's not as focused on football right now. I feel like he's enjoying his time with Taylor Swift a little bit too much. Well, all right, it's his life. He can live it how he wants. You know what I mean? But like as it pertains to football, I think that he's got his podcast. Like his life is great. And what did Mickey say in Rocky 3? To Rocky as he sat down, didn't want him to take the Clubber Lang fight. It's like the worst thing that could ever happen to a fighter is he became civilized. And Travis Kelce is kind of unwinding. He's towards the finish line of retirement. I mean, I hope that we don't. Well, I'm not even going to say that. I was going to say, like have a Mickey heart attack reference. Spoiler alert to anybody who hasn't seen like the Rocky movies. I don't even know where I'm going with this at this point, but I see Mahomes and the Chiefs, beating the Raiders. I don't know. The Raiders offense is going to be better than it was, against the Vikings, against who did they just play before the Vikings? They scored 0 points in like back-to-back games, right? Raiders?
It might have been the Chiefs because it was I think Chiefs bye week, Vikings, Chargers, Chiefs.
Okay. Yeah. I think they'll be better, O'Connell's getting more reps under his belt. That sort of ordeal, but I don't think it's going to be enough to beat the Chiefs at home on Christmas morning. And yeah, I'm picking the Chiefs. How about you?
Yeah, as far as the Travis Kelce thing, I think he's just simply aging, and like you sort of alluded to, his outside of football life is becoming very grand to the point where he's said this. He's never thought of retirement more than this season.
Mm-hmm.
So
Coach
yeah,
Ingles says he thinks Kelce is 1 foot out the door. I kind of agree.
And I agree, and I hope so. I hope he's done, dude. I hope they lose first round of the playoffs, and it's bye-bye Kelce. We could stop with these Campbell's commercials, and we can watch the downfall of the Chiefs, please.
Look at the smile on this Raider fan's face.
Yeah,
Taylor Swift, you did this.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything about Taylor Swift. Maybe Andy Reid can follow him and also retire. We could just leave Patrick Mahomes to like keep bitching and moaning every week about the referees. But
worst call ever. Oh my God. I'm here.
I said last week, after the Vikings game. No. Was it the Vikings game? Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Before the Charger game, I said Charger game is the last game this season that the Raiders will win. And, like, it just feels like, there's no chance that the Raiders could go into Arrowhead on Christmas morning when the Chiefs need to win these games, moving forward. I think they have Raiders, some other easy team like the Patriots or something, and then they finish up with the Chargers, I want to say.
I think
they have nothing but backups. They have nothing but backups moving forward. So Aiden O'Connell, somebody else, Easton Stick.
Chiefs got the Raiders, Bengals, and Chargers left.
Bengals, okay. And last thing here before I give my prediction, we mentioned earlier about like, these next 3 weeks is very important for playoff seeding. It's also very important for, the draft order for 2024. The Raiders this past week beating the Chargers, and this is why a week ago I was saying, I hope we lose, man. I hope we just lose out. and that sucks for Antonio Pierce. That sucks for a lot of the players, but we were the 6th overall pick, and if we could lose out, and you just need – these are the teams that the Raiders need to win. Giants, Bears, Chargers, Titans, and Jets. Those are all teams within one win of the Raiders who, if they all win, I'm pretty sure they all actually have the tiebreaker over the Raiders, even though the Raiders have beaten like the Giants and Jets and Chargers. But now the Raiders are one game above them. They went from the 6th overall pick to the 12th in 1 week. Give me the Raiders this week against the Chiefs.
Ooh, you're going Raiders.
I'm going Raiders.
See, man, that is very interesting. We finally, I mean, it took several weeks, but we finally are disagreeing on our pick. I just think that the Chiefs have way too much to play for, and yes, Antonio Pierce is playing for his head coaching career right now. Like this is it.
Yeah.
I don't see the Chiefs fumbling this one, man. So
I'm actually
down.
I'm actually going to change this. And aren't I on the right?
Yeah, my bad.
I am going to actually change this. Although I am betting, like I want to say the Raiders are going to win. I want to say Raiders if Josh Jacobs plays. Because he was out against the Chargers with the quad injury. I'm hoping that, getting the extra week and a half off helps him in playing against the Chiefs. This is a game. The Raiders 4 weeks ago, they were up 14-0 on the Chiefs at home. And then this past week, the Chiefs played the Patriots and were losing to the Patriots in like the first or second quarter. So there's something that's not perfect anymore about this Chiefs team. And I said one of the first podcasts of our podcast, I said this season, and this was of course with Garoppolo, with Josh McDaniels and so forth, thinking that we had a chance at the playoffs this season. I said this season, I guarantee we will win one game against the Chiefs. This is the only one that's left. So I'm gonna keep that prediction. If Josh Jacobs plays, we have to be healthy.
Like I can see a scenario where the Raiders win. It's just, man, I can't imagine Kansas City lose. They can't afford to lose this game.
No, they can't. And the way I look at it is it's a win-win. It's either we beat the Chiefs and it feels even better than 63-21. It's like, dude, we just beat those guys. I can't wait to come back next season and play them again and really assert our dominance and show them who we can really be, because next year's team is going to be better than this year's team. That's not a doubt in my mind for the Raiders, because it's not going to be a full-blown rebuild. It's going to be draft your quarterback and let's fucking go. I just think on the other aspect, you have the Chiefs. They need to win this. They need to go out there and get the 2nd overall seed. At the same time, I think if Antonio Pierce beats the Chiefs, Mark Davis should be sitting there going, I can talk to all the coaches I want. Not any coach can come into my office and prove to me that they can beat the Chiefs like that. Or week 18, we face the Broncos, and maybe it's the play and get in for the Broncos situation. If we beat the Broncos and ruin their season, hey, Antonio Pierce, you're my coach. Like that's enough for me, beat your division rivals.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
I think Antonio Pierce has a lot to prove.
Mm-hmm. I am going to put this comment on the screen. I just heard the doorbell. I'm going to be back in 1 minute. I'm just going to see what's going on. But just go ahead and talk about the quarterbacks in this draft and how moving further away from that top pick hurts. I'll be right back.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, again, a week ago I was all in on the Raiders losing to the Chargers. I was like, I have to pick the Raiders, but I really want the Chargers to win that game. And then the Raiders score 63, and it's like, well, that was fun, and that was probably worth it. It's fun to get a laugh against the Chargers anytime that we can. But yeah, I mean, sixth overall, and at the time, still sitting right above the Bears at 5, who they're on the up and up right now. They look like a good, solid defense, and Justin Fields is playing pretty well to the point where he might almost be worth keeping for them. The Panthers are going to earn them that first overall pick. If the Bears want to draft Caleb Williams and then ship out, Justin Fields, they certainly can, and that's a pretty good scenario for them. But having the ability to get above the Bears at 5, and then I think the fourth overall team. See, actually, I think I have a picture of the current standings. The current draft order, at least the top 10: Bears, Patriots, Cardinals, Washington. I believe they have 4 wins, and then now that we have 6, it's like that's going to be hard to for them to catch up to us. But then you have the Bears at 5 wins, Jets, Giants, Chargers, Titans at 5 wins. Then you have the 6-win teams. You have the Falcons at 10th overall. I don't know who's 11th. That might be the Saints. And then you have at 12th overall right now the Raiders at 6 and 8. So it is very likely that the Raiders can lose out. You have obviously the Chiefs this week, but then you also have the Colts next week, who are 8 and 6, and right in a very tight race for those final 3 wildcard spots. And really, I think the Browns are locked in. I know they haven't clinched it yet, but they have a game, or if not 2 games, on every other wildcard team. They're going to make it. It's a matter of those final 2, and you have the Bills and I think the Texans looking on the outside looking in. You have the Colts, who, again, the Raiders played in 2 weeks from now. And then the final week, the Raiders play the Broncos, who are 7 and 7, and very much on the outside looking in, but still, they have hope. They're not eliminated, nor the Raiders, but I think if the Raiders were to lose this, even if the Raiders win this week, they might get eliminated just because the Bills, Texans, and Colts or Browns or whoever also win, and those wins just eliminate the 6-win Raiders or 7. But yeah, and then as far as the quarterbacks go, obviously I mentioned Caleb Williams. He's not getting past 2nd overall. I think all the hype right now is on Jaden Daniels, who just won the Heisman. That's sort of the guy that I'm really leaning towards right now, and 12th overall is not going to get that done. You have Drake May, who's projected to go 3rd or 4th overall, and then you also have Michael Penix Jr. And there are a few others, but those are the main 4. My big thing, and I think what Coach is saying here, moving back from 6 to 12 hurts, because at 6th overall, we have a good shot at one of those 4 quarterbacks. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. should be, if not the 1st overall pick, the 2nd overall pick. He'll probably be, I honestly think, if the Patriots stay at 2nd overall, Marvin Harrison Jr. will either be the 3rd overall pick or the 1st overall pick to the Bears. That would be unfair. DJ Moore and Marvin Harrison Jr. But you might have an offensive tackle somewhere at 5th, 6th overall. Otherwise, it's going to be the quarterbacks this year. Yeah. So the point being, if the Raiders aren't going to earn that top 6 pick, that means they have to trade up. And that means future assets, right? This isn't a perfect team as of right now, and I'm hoping in a couple of years maybe it can be that next Kansas City Chiefs roster. But having to trade like the Niners did for Trey Lance, 3 first-round picks, not ideal for team building, for roster construction, right? Not very ideal. So that was why I wanted to tank. But I also, like I mentioned about the Chargers and their players, they're not going to give up. Is the same reason why I don't expect the Raiders to go out there and tank, because they have jobs on the line and money on the line. This is hand in hand, but you get my point. So
yeah, but if the owner sends the message to tank. Speaking of owners, you know who was just at the door? It was Mark Davis. He said, "How the hell could you pick the Chiefs?" He's like, "It's going to be a Christmas miracle." He
Well, I
and
think Mark
his
Davis would
and
be
his bowl
excited.
cut and his bowl cut haircut showed up to my front door, and he's like, "Mike is right. The Raiders are gonna win." And I said, "You know what? I'm here." And I'm just playing. Like
Oh,
it was just a package.
nothing would make me happier on Christmas morning than having the Raiders cause Patrick Mahomes to cry to the refs.
Dude,
Oh,
trust me, you want to lose that game. You want to have higher draft capital. Like, see,
I said
this
it's a
is the thing.
win-win.
You're
It's a
all right.
win-win.
It's a win-win because like, all right, you might feel good about like the smug look, like, yeah, take that, Chiefs. Oh, you guys aren't gonna, get home field advantage, this, that, and the other. But it's like the Raiders always do this. They do stupid shit and win games that like they should absolutely like, all right, what are you playing for? You're playing to like not get a quarterback, and it happens every time. It's like you are just good enough to like move yourself out of the draft and like not make the playoffs. You get stuck in no man's land, and it's been like this for a long time. Like I'm not saying the
Yep.
players should go out there and want to lose. Like they're playing for their jobs. I understand that. But it's like just the it's unfortunate every single time because it's like the people who care the most, the fans, are the ones that like they want to see the team win and do so good. And sometimes it's like taking your medicine. You know what I mean? You just got to take your medicine, and then the fucking team just like, oh my god, every time it's like you do this thing, or it's like a moral victory here, and it sets the team back, like it sets the franchise back.
Well, I mean, that's what I was saying week one. I mean, before week one was like, this team every year they're going to do the same thing over and over again. 6-8, or well, 6-11 or whatever, 7-10, and miss the playoffs, but also miss a top 5 to 8 pick and not be in that prized location for a quarterback. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. At this point, I said it a week ago. I've already said this multiple times, but I was saying just go out there and lose. But I think the best scenario really for this game is overtime, and then lose in absolutely unfortunate fashion, but also fortunate for the draft pick.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the draft, Coach Ingles says Bears take Williams at 1, trading away Fields to maybe like Atlanta. Yeah, I think that I think the Bears are going to take a quarterback. I don't think that they're going to run it back with Justin Fields. I know Joel
Me,
says that, you know, he says I don't know if the Bears take a quarterback it's 50-50. I think they're going to make a change. In my gut,
I
I feel it.
maybe I mean that's what I think that in theory was what they were probably aiming for a year ago when they made the trade back. Because I mean everybody knew that this quarterback class was going to be better than Bryce Young and nobody else. I think, right?
CJ
Oh,
Stroud.
Stroud. Jesus Christ, wake up! Hello.
Nobody else.
That CJ Stroud is my guy. I don't know what I'm talking about, but the Bears look smart, but I think Justin Fields is playing pretty good now. Getting a young rookie quarterback is much better than having to pay a veteran quarterback. If you can draft that quarterback that you lucked your way into, not lucked, but you trade back with the Panthers a year ago, it ends up earning you a first overall pick. If you can turn that into a franchise quarterback and trade Fields for multiple seconds or even a first round pick, yeah, that's clutch. At the same time, this morning, I looked at the draft order and I saw the Falcons picking at 10th overall. And I just thought about the Falcons having lost to the Panthers and all the weapons that they have on offense. And I couldn't help but think the Panthers were sitting at like 9th or 10th overall last year, and they made the big trade up with the Bears to get Bryce Young. What if the Falcons trade up to 1st overall and get Caleb Williams? Imagine Caleb Williams with the Falcons offense. Maybe,
Yeah.
it'd be better with a different coach, but dude, their weapons, that would be insane.
If they had the same exact coach and Caleb Williams gets drafted there, don't be surprised if the punter takes some snaps at quarterback and Caleb Williams is on the sideline and then Arthur Smith is just, saying, "Oh, such and such fantasy football, you think you know better than me." And it's the same story every time with that coach. I hope he gets fired. He's, I don't know. I feel like he constantly underuses his best players.
Yeah, you know who would be really good with the Falcons? Okay, imagine this. This is how you rebuild the Falcons in one offseason. You fire Frank, or not Frank, whatever the hell his name is,
Arthur
the head
Smith.
coach, Arthur Smith. You hire Ben Johnson from the Lions. Hire Ben Johnson, trade up to first overall, draft Caleb Williams. You already have all the offensive weapons. Just solidify your offensive line. Your defense is actually not bad. You just need a few young players here and there. They might go to the playoff. I mean, the NFC South, anybody can go to the playoffs. So, yeah, I would predict the Falcons to win the division next year. It just depends on how good Caleb Williams actually is in the NFL, which I don't think is a guarantee, but that'd be interesting. But anyways, we can probably move on to the Niners.
I'm gonna rapid fire these last three comments here, and then we're going to go into the Niners. So Joel says, "Don't care about draft order. We have a lot of capital to trade up for our guy." You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, I will say, like, we have all the capital. We don't have any draft picks from the future that we have traded away. So yes, we have all the capital to do it, but also when you are forced to trade up for your guy, you suddenly don't have the capital after you do so. And like the way I look at it is like opportunity cost. If we could just take our medicine, like Josh said, lose out, which would have started with the Charger game, lose out, earn the 4th overall pick. We can take Jaden Daniels or Drake May or whoever our guy is, other than Caleb Williams, with no future capital spent. We still have our 2nd round pick, our 3rd round pick, our future 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round picks, right? You can draft a defensive tackle. You can draft another running back. You can draft another wide receiver, offensive guard, offensive tackle. When you have to trade up, like the Niners did for Trey Lance, you can't do that. The Niners, fortunately for them, were built to win playoff games in the very same moment that they traded up for Trey Lance. The Raiders are not quite built for that yet. They have stars, but they're not built to go out there and win playoff games. Could they? Maybe, but they're not going to go out there and have a playoff game at home. It's not going to be consistent.
So Joel says, "I just feel like it's who I draft, not where you draft." For example, the Cleveland Farrell draft. This is true. It's about picking the right guy with your pick. But at the same time, if you're already higher up, it costs way less to move up 2 spots as opposed to 10. 10 spots cost you several first-round picks. 2 spots might cost you a 2nd-round pick next year.
And it's not only the cost of what you're trading, which when you're going up for your guy and you're going up from 13, 14 to 4th overall, you're going to give up a shit ton of picks, okay? But also, let's say Cleveland Farrell, right? It's a matter of who's available. And for some dumb reason, the Raiders decided we're going to go by need instead of by who's best available. Mayock has since said in interviews that Cleveland Farrell was his guy because it was the need that they had. They planned to go with Cleveland Farrell first. They wanted to trade back, but guess what? Nobody came calling. So they had to pick him at 4th overall. Who was picked right before him? Kyler Murray, Nick Bosa, Quinnen Williams. By the way, Quinnen Williams, one of the best defensive tackles in football. Okay? Right after Cleveland Farrell, Ed Oliver, still starting for the Buffalo Bills to this day. Very good defensive tackle. We still have an issue at defensive tackle. Why not just take the to me, it's like, okay, we can be picking at 12th overall, 13th, 14th. Quarterback is not going to last to that pick, so you have to trade up. Quarterback is the premium, so when you trade up to 4th overall, you have to give up the premium. It's not ideal. It's really not. I understand what you're saying. Yes. I don't see it with O'Connell. Could he start next season if we're desperate? Sure. I think O'Connell is the perfect backup quarterback. I mean, maybe not perfect, he's not like, I don't expect him to be like Nick Foles, go out there and win a Super Bowl for a team, but I think that he will continue to grow under this organization, whoever our offensive coordinator is next season, learn the system. Hopefully he can, I mean, for all we know, maybe they keep it all the staff. He can help the rookie quarterback implement the system, right? But he's too back and forth for me, and he's a young quarterback. Could he progress into a starter? Sure, but that's for the Raiders coaches to determine in practice and, with reps. And so far it's been very back and forth. This Charger game was very promising, 4 touchdowns. Hey, that's great, but I'm a big thing about I've had a huge thing towards getting a mobile quarterback. I think I watched that Jaguars-Ravens game last night, and it's like you had one guy in Trevor Lawrence fumbling the ball all over the place. He's a first overall pick. They're not all going to be perfect, but he wasn't looking like the best quarterback in the world, where you had Lamar Jackson out there with insane pocket awareness and mobility. That adds an entire other layer to your offense. He was able to evade multiple sacks, get out of the pocket, extend the play, throw it deep, get a massive gain. Whereas Aiden O'Connell, Mr. Cement Shoes, would be sacked, and it's over, period. You get to add 5 seconds to your play. You know what your receivers can do? It's insane. It's a massive difference. Jaden Daniels.
Real quick, I just want to get to these comments by Coach Ingles, because these next 2 comments I'm going to put on the screen. I think he's cooking. He's cooking it up. I could see, like, this is like a dream scenario for all these guys, like at the top. So he had Caleb Williams going number 1 to Chicago, right? And then they trade Justin Fields. Patriots take Drake May at 2. And then the Cardinals get Marvin Harrison Jr. That would be a good fit for Kyler Murray. I could absolutely see that. And then he says Washington doesn't need a quarterback. Sam Howell has actually been playing good. Bears take an offensive tackle at 5. I could see that. Or, if Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't go to the Cardinals, I could see where they pair him up in Chicago with, their brand new quarterback. Being at 6 is primed to take Jaden Daniels. Mike, wouldn't you love to be at 6 and take Jaden Daniels?
Yeah, and honestly, unfortunately, what probably has to happen is you have to trade up to 4, because I don't know who Washington's going to take. There's like the big 4 players right now. It's the 3 quarterbacks, right? Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and then Marvin Harrison Jr. I think there's supposed to be 1 or 2 offensive tackles up there somewhere. There's probably some defensive linemen and some corners, hopefully, right? But I also, as far as Washington goes, I think my leading theory is that I think everybody knows, that their head coach will get fired, Ron Rivera. I think Bieniemy takes over, and they keep it going another year with Sam Howell, because that offensive pairing has looked good. Why not, right? Keep that going, just like the Raiders should keep their defense going. So then it's a matter of, well, what does Washington need? Offensive tackle? I don't know, but if they get the right team to trade up with them, they'll do it, and that team could be trading up for Jaden Daniels.
They might go edge rusher, dude. They might have like the top available one. They just traded away Sweat and Chase Young. They might be taking an edge rusher, because they might get like the top guy. And I don't really know who that is, because I don't watch a lot of college football. But are we ready to recap the Niners game? All right. 49ers versus Cardinals recap. Let's get right into it. I've got a couple notes prepared that I want to share with everybody. the Cardinals started off the game scoring. They had a pretty good, solid opening script, and then uh, I feel like in this game we really felt the absence of Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrave. Sort of, I guess, being able to stop the run in the middle. I know Armstead. I mean, that's his specialty is clogging up the middle so that way the linebackers are able to plug up the holes better and they don't get obliterated by offensive linemen going up to the second level. Um, you know, uh, the Niners were able to overcome that with their like constant offense, but just kind of going through stuff that also stuck out to me was when the Niners finally did get the ball back on offense after that opening script. Debo was left wide open for a touchdown, on the wheel route. I want to say it was the Niners' first drive.
I think
So
so. Yeah.
so then it was 7-7. And then later on, Charvarius Ward had a great play on the pick six. It wasn't a good throw by Kyler Murray, but it was an excellent play by Ward to find the opening and not he caught the ball and didn't hesitate. Like he was, I've said it multiple times before on this stream. It's like, you can tell when players are going like their mission, they're not looking to like just gain yards. They're going for 6. Charvarius Ward, that's exactly what he was doing as soon as he got the ball. So it was a good play, no hesitation, took it to the house. Purdy was nearly picked early in the second quarter, forcing it to Debo. Purdy didn't throw any interceptions that I remember. Like, Purdy played his completion percentage wasn't as high as it normally is, but I think Purdy played a fantastic game. I think he ended up with like 4 passing touchdowns. Just a great day for Brock Purdy. I didn't like that throw, to Debo. Luckily, it wasn't intercepted, so it shouldn't be a talking point, but just something I sort of wrote down in the moment. Nick Bosa had a great he had a great first half with a sack. It was like I don't know if they credited it to Bosa like just on his own, because he kind of combined for a sack with Javon Kinlaw. But the broadcast seemed to just be panning over to Nick Bosa and credit him for the sack. So, Bosa got Murray on that, and then there was another sack where it was a strip sack, but Arizona was able to recover it. But Nick Bosa had a great first half. And then, things started to get interesting in the game when, McCaffrey checked himself out of the game due to, some sort of knee discomfort. I didn't get a chance to hear Kyle Shanahan talk about it after the game and sort of clarify what was going on with McCaffrey, but I know he got his knee taped up. And, like literally the next play or 2 plays after, Brock Purdy also went out of the game. What I thought was, in my opinion, kind of a dirty hit by number 45 on Arizona. Um, I would say dirty in today's standards of the NFL because you're not supposed to, you're not supposed to have helmet to helmet contact. And, on the replay, you just see him make contact. You see Purdy's head kind of cock back a little bit. I thought Purdy might have had a concussion. I even wrote down, Purdy down after the play, possible concussion, but it ended up being a stinger, to his left shoulder, and Purdy was able to check back in after. But Sam Darnold came in, and like I was literally thinking, last week I was like, man, Purdy is so like, he's so fun to watch, and I'm like, I really like Brock Purdy, and then like I was just thinking like, I really liked Trey Lance. And then I'm just thinking, I don't like Sam Darnold. Like I was thinking that last week. I was like, I hope I never have to see Sam Darnold play because like I don't like him. And then I just sort of had these like thoughts to myself. And then Sam Darnold had to go in the game when Brock Purdy went in the medical tent. And all right, I'm still here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My screen went to like sleep for a second. Uh, Sam Darnold checked into the game and he had like one of his first throws was like a hospital ball to George Kittle, and it's like get him the fuck out of there. I I don't think Sam Darnold's a good quarterback, and you know I don't know why he was brought in, but bringing in Sam Darnold enabled the 49ers to recoup you know, a fourth round pick with Trey Lance and a little bit of cap space. So, it kind of is what it is, but I think it's got to be, it's Purdy or bust, I think, for this team. I don't know if the 49ers, even with all their playmakers, could win a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold. So, I just pray that, Purdy continues to, keep himself protected and, just he's able to keep himself healthy. Knock on wood, right?
Yeah. Can I say one thing?
Yeah, go
Because
for it.
I think that's a good segue. Because you mentioned you think that the play where he got the stinger was a potential penalty in today's NFL. The only reason I disagree, because I do agree, like he hit him in the helmet, but like how like one of the penalties is like if you go low on a quarterback, it's automatic penalty unless you
Mhm,
get pushed into him. Like this one was like he was jumping to deflect the pass, and Purdy was running forward because he essentially kind of became a runner, and he's out of the pocket. The linebacker comes in at him and jumps to deflect the pass as Purdy throws it over him, but he
mhm,
still has his momentum going forward, and that player is in midair coming towards him, momentum towards him. When he comes down, his arm kind of hits him, and I think the top or the bottom of his like face mask probably hits his helmet as well. Like it just seemed like bad luck to me. It didn't seem like a penalty to me. Um, I
Well,
think really it's something where Purdy needs to get out of the way. He
I
or
I
fake it. I don't know.
I think it was called a
Obviously,
penalty because of the helmet-to-helmet contact. Um,
maybe.
I think it was called a penalty, but where I said it was, like, borderline, I think it was borderline dirty because of the helmet-to-helmet, like, just sort of, today's standards of the NFL, but, at the end of the day, it's football. Brock Purdy was fine, but I do remember, like, in the moment, like, just like, "Man, what the hell was that?"
Mm,
And then
yeah.
there was actually like a similar play, I think, where Kyler Murray also got hurt on a hit. I want to say it might have been Cleveland Farrell who hit Kyler Murray, and Farrell was like, you could see he's doing everything in his power to not land with his body weight, and he looks up at the official like just to make sure, because he hit Kyler Murray hard, and then Kyler Murray was like kind of shaken up and got knocked out of the game. Um, but Kyler Murray eventually checked back into the game and was fine. And I was like, man, so I'm just here thinking I'm gonna talk about that this play was like borderline dirty, and then you're gonna have like there's just gonna be people where like, oh, you think that's kind of dirty, but you don't think that's kind of dirty. I don't know. I felt like the hit on Murray was kind of a clean hit. The um the hit where number 45 knocked Purdy out of the, temporarily out of the game, I feel like it was an awkward hit. It was
Right.
awkward, and I just say borderline dirty because it's like you see you see the helmet to helmet contact, and they're like, in today's NFL, they're getting rid of that. Like,
Right.
period. It doesn't matter
Well,
if you're quarterback or not.
right. I don't fully remember the play. I thought I remember seeing it as he jumped up to try to deflect the pass. Is still coming down with momentum, gravity naturally bringing him down towards Purdy, who is running towards him. It just seemed like a freak thing. Now, if he was running and hit some helmet to helmet, easy, but I don't quite remember, so I'm not going to fully say. But from what I remember, if I remember it correctly, I don't think it's that bad. It's more of like bad luck.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. So, and then Purdy checks back into the game and has a sweet extended play and throw to Kittle right before the 2-minute warning. And then right after that, Purdy throws a dot to McCaffrey for a touchdown. And then, um, I think the 49ers forced the Cardinals to punt at a certain point, or it might have even been, on a kickoff return. But Ronnie Bell gave me Kyle Williams flashbacks because he was wearing number 10, and I don't know, just sort of their body composition is like very similar. And Ronnie Bell, fumbled, and like, the Cardinals took it for a touchdown, and it's like, man, what the hell is going on? And then so it was called back, and I think rightfully so, because his forearm was down. And then I don't know what Charles Davis was looking at, like, in the broadcast. Like, he was like, "Oh, it's clear the that his hand is up, so his forearm's not hitting the ground."
Right. He was like holding the football obviously like this, and when he came down, it looked like he went on his hand, but still this part of his elbow touched the ground. So I was like, I don't really know what you're getting at here, but I think the point that he may have had was, in college, you catch a pass, you fall down, nobody touches you, you're down. That's the rule.
Mhm.
In the NFL, you catch a pass, nobody touches you, you fall down, you can get back up and run. I think his point was also, if he wasn't touched and he went down on his own, kind of, momentum, trying to juke and fell down, tried to get up and fumble the ball, that's a fumble. But I think it was determined in the replay, and what the referee said was number 83 of the Cardinals touched him before he went down, and he's down. So I think that's what Charles Davis was trying to say, but he was kind of butchering it.
He was butchering, he was butchering that. Absolutely. Yeah. I was like, dude, what the hell is he talking about? He's like, oh, his forearm's not down. And it's like, what the hell is this? What is this then? Like,
right.
I don't know. It was just in the moment. I was like, man, that was like one of Charles Davis's worst moments. And then so the Niners, they get the ball because it's called back. Purdy was able to roll out. Oh, he rolled left, and McCaffrey was able to, just get a wide open pass, for a touchdown. And it was awesome, dude. Like, to see Purdy escape the pressure, go out, and I'm like, man, that's an MVP play.
That is something I was gonna. That is something I was gonna say about Purdy. Is like, I've noticed now every week he has at least one throw that's just a genuine MVP throw. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're gonna touch on it here in a little bit here, but it might have been the third or fourth quarter, unless it was the second or first. But he threw one for the I guess you call it inside pylon to the left side of the end zone for Debo for Debo's second touchdown. Fucking dime. Phenomenal throw. Dime.
Yeah. So, Purdy connects to McCaffrey for that touchdown. And then afterwards, like I sort of alluded to earlier, Kyler Murray got knocked out of the game. I believe it was Cleveland Farrell, hit him. Murray got hit hard, and I didn't necessarily understand what exactly his injury or discomfort was, but he checked back into the game and was missing a lot of throws after that. And then there was a play, when Arizona had the ball, where James Conner ran for like a 40+ yard run. And on that play, what I can see is, the offensive line, they blocked it very well. And then Tayshaun Gibson had an opportunity, I think, to make a tackle to sort of limit the damage, but you can see him hesitate and sort of start to run back and take his oh shit angle. And, James Conner just, kept picking up yards. So that ended with like a 40+ yard run. And then, oh my God, there was this play in the game where, all right, Randy Gregory had a boneheaded last second shove where he shoved an offensive lineman right into Nick Bosa's left ankle. And then Nick Bosa was like down with injury. And I was like, dude, he obviously didn't mean to push the guy into Bosa, but it's like, stay disciplined. Why do you need to, what reason did you have to like push the offensive lineman? Like, you nearly lost your best pass rusher, all because of like a selfish mistake. So I think Randy Gregory, hopefully, I think takes something from it. and learns from it going forward and doesn't make the same mistake going forward. Um, and then, uh, after that, Nick Bosa seemed fine. I want to say that he was able to finish the game. Um, and then Christian McCaffrey had a rushing touchdown to make the game 35-16, and Deebo Samuel had a pretty nice block. And I think that was like the like dagger in the game. And then I've got here under my notes, I'm just sort of wrapping up. Warner and Randy Gregory missed tackles on a play where Amari DeMarcado rushed to the left for a touchdown. I don't think it was Fred Warner's best game either. And, I was literally thinking at the time, I'm like, this isn't a good game for Randy Gregory, or at least the two plays that I highlighted. It wasn't, necessarily that strong for Randy Gregory. So hopefully he can bounce back moving forward. And then on my notes, I literally wrote Purdy MVP. And it was that throw that we were just talking about where the throw to the front pylon on the left of the end zone to Deebo Samuel. Deebo made a hell of a play, getting his body ready to catch that inbounds. And he turned a ball that, might have been low for a couple of receivers and it hit him square in the chest. So, great throw by Purdy, excellent throw by Deebo. And Purdy MVP, and 2021 Deebo is unlocked. He is back. There's no question. And it worries me in the fantasy football playoffs, but my God, as a Niner fan, this could not be coming at a better time.
Yeah. These are just a few notes I have really quick. Deebo Samuel, okay. Kyle Shanahan scheming Deebo open is just scary for the rest of the NFL moving forward. That is what you guys have been apparently missing the past 2 years. So, yeah. I guess I'll start with the good then. And then Charvarius Ward, he should be an all-pro this season. And that's not something I really expected when he signed with the Niners. I just thought, oh, okay, like they're taking the Chiefs, like second to Tyrann Mathieu, ball hawk sort of player. But now it's like, dude, this guy is great. Mm-hmm. Okay.
He was a great fit when he came to San Francisco because of how physical he was. And, the Niners were more of like, like they played a lot of press coverage, like when he came to the team, and it was just like, man, perfect fit. Now with Steve Wilkes, it's a little bit different. They play off the ball a little bit more, and maybe they allow a little bit more yardage. But I mean, Charvarius Ward, in my next note, my next bullet point was Ward with the second interception. He had a fantastic game.
Yeah. And then I'll just kind of quick, just 2 points really. This is it for me. 2 negatives that you have from this game for me. You mentioned it kind of to start, but the Niners are missing Javon Hargrave and Eric Armstead, your primary defensive tackles. The Cardinals rush for 236 yards on the Niners defense. 236, like that's
a lot.
That's an amazing offensive performance on the ground for any given team. But against the Niners, like, whoa, okay. And then this is the other thing for me. This is just something I noticed on multiple plays. Javon Kinlaw was getting absolutely worked by the offensive guards on the Cardinals. Absolutely manhandled, pancaked left and right. So that's a guy in the playoffs you just don't want to see on the field, if I'm taking a wild guess from what I saw.
He struggled a lot. Like, I do remember seeing a lot of plays last season where he's just getting blown up off the line, off the line of scrimmage by, the Eagles offensive lineman in the NFC Championship. But I think Kinlaw's had a better season this year, but you'll have to, or I'll have to go back and look, and watch Javon Kinlaw, like, a little bit closer. Maybe I'll check out like the all 22 film of like, when he's in, but I'm definitely interested in looking.
Yeah. Maybe Kinlaw is more of like the situational pass rusher and not quite the every down, also rush defense sort of defender, because it clearly, based off the stats, it wasn't working.
I don't think Kinlaw's that strong of a pass rusher. Like, no disrespect to, to Javon, but he's more of a. I feel like the I guess personality, like the on-field personality that he's kind of built up is, he's a rotational defensive lineman that comes in and I would say he's stronger against the run than he is against the pass, or at least supposed to be. Based on what you're telling me, it's like you know uh, it's a little bit alarming, but maybe props to the Arizona defensive line.
Yeah, offensive line, but yes, I do
Offensive line.
think I do think their offensive line was having a good game, and I just think at the end of the day, Kinlaw didn't have much interior help, so that probably didn't help at all. They were just running up the middle because they knew that the Niners defensive tackles were missing, starters. So
yeah, but it's going to take a lot more than just constantly running to beat this 49ers team. They are lethal on offense.
That and also, I mean, I said it a week ago. When Hargrave was questionable with, I think it's a calf or whatever he's got going on. It's like soft tissue. It's better to sit him and let him get healthy, and maybe the rush defense struggles, but you guys still win games, than force him to play, re-injure, and then he's out of the playoffs. Like it's not worth playing him. So.
And then my last bullet point here. This was after the game, or maybe towards the end of the game. But my dad called me. He called me a couple times during the game, and he said that Brock Purdy looks like if Kyle Shanahan and Joe Montana had a baby.
Yeah, I wouldn't really know much about Joe Montana, so that's good. Obviously Joe Montana made all the throws, and I think Purdy is making all the throws right now. So I'll put it that way.
Yeah. So that almost interception, that was the Kyle Shanahan half coming out of baby Brock Purdy or baby Montana, whatever you want to call it. All the other, the great throws, that's Joe Montana right there. And all the play calling, it's Kyle Shanahan. So, hey, I thought it was funny, and it will be interesting. I think Brock Purdy had another performance that absolutely adds to his MVP sort of, his case for being MVP.
Yeah. Can I tell one story? My dad was telling me this, I think maybe the night of the Raider game or the next day on Friday. I'm not sure. But we were talking about John Lynch, and okay, yeah, that's why. Okay, like, do you know the ties between John Lynch and the Niners, like dating back to when he was in college? He played college at Stanford.
Went at Stanford.
Yeah, which I didn't even fully know that. And I also didn't know, I don't know why, that Bill Walsh eventually, after coaching the Niners,
coached at Stanford.
So Bill Walsh apparently was in his office or whatever watching film, and he was watching the previous season's tape, and he noticed this guy on the field at safety named John Lynch. And apparently, according to John Lynch, I think, this is all spoken word, so I could be butchering some of this. John Lynch thought, I'm not that good. Like, football isn't really for me. I'm just going to go play baseball. He was kind of thinking maybe like a John Elway type, like, I'm also good at baseball. I'm going to play baseball, right? Like, safety just wasn't really working out for him. Bill Walsh watches the film of the previous season. This is like his first season, I think, taking over the team. Like, he had not coached John Lynch, and he noticed him and said, I want him in my office right now. So he gets John Lynch in his office. John Lynch is thinking, like, what's going on here, And apparently Bill Walsh told him, who you reminded me of? A guy that used to play for my team. His name's Ronnie Lott.
Ronnie Lott.
Yeah. And John Lynch is like, whoa, what do you? No way, you know. So long story short, he like convinces him to play again. He plays for Stanford, and one day he's at practice and he looks over to his side and he sees Ronnie Lott and Joe Montana watching practice, and he's like, okay. So he ends up, being eligible for the draft. And the way my dad put it was, when Bill Walsh was coaching the Niners, one of the main adversaries for Bill Walsh was the head coach of the Bengals, and I don't know his name, but he also, I think, came up the same tree with Bill Walsh. So they were like running the same systems or whatever at the same time. They were like two of the most winningest coaches at that time. Obviously, Bill Walsh, right?
Mhm.
And this coach for the Bengals at the time eventually becomes the coach of apparently the Buccaneers. And what my dad says is, Bill Walsh is the coach at Stanford and says, you know what? I beat that guy's ass way too many times. I'm going to give him a freebie here. So he calls him up and says, hey, draft John Lynch. Sure enough, I think the Buccaneers draft John Lynch, and this was a different team. And John Lynch ends up being a Hall of Famer, right, at safety. All thanks to Bill Walsh.
Bill Walsh.
And now here is John Lynch, the general manager of the Niners, and he might go lead his team, not John Lynch, but he might have built a team that can win a Super Bowl. Obviously, he has built a team that can. It's just a matter of will it, and I think yes.
That's a great story, and honestly, I think it checks out. Like, I believe it because I feel like Bill Walsh's bread and butter and like his whole career was just identifying talent. Like,
that was my dad's whole
all
point.
The Niner legends.
Yeah,
think about all the Niner legends, and Bill Walsh put people in like even out of position and had them excel. Like, I don't know. I wish I was alive to have witnessed him coaching the 49ers. I think, I would have absolutely been in love. I want to see the tapes of like, the Niners back then. I would love to like go back and like watch all the games. So NFL Plus, upload those old seasons and I will watch.
Yeah.
You will get more money from me.
I think moral of the story though is like, if the Niners win the Super Bowl this year, like think about it. If John Lynch went and played baseball instead, he would have never been a GM.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys wouldn't have the same team right now. You know what I mean? Like that little butterfly effect, thanks to Bill Walsh, is leading towards today. How insane.
Would potentially lead to another 49ers Super Bowl. And it's like Bill Walsh, may he rest in peace, is like giving another gift to Niner fans. From heaven. That's awesome.
Yep. Crazy.
That would be absolutely insane. But I don't think our viewers agree with that because we just we're back up. We're back up. We had like a little dip for a second. And they didn't want to hear the Bill Walsh story. No, I'm just playing. Speaking of our viewers, I'm going to go ahead and take comments real quick, and then we're going to do a really fast prediction of the 49ers versus Ravens game. But Fonzie says, what's up, guys? What's up, Fonzie? Glad that you can make it to the show. I know that we've been kind of switching up the time period, and normally you're present for like our night streams, but it's just kind of the way the schedule's sort of working out. So you can kind of probably, maybe not next week. I don't think next week we're going to do a Monday morning stream. We might push it back to Tuesday because Monday is going to be Christmas. We're going to be spending time with our families. And then the Raiders are going to be playing at 10. Niners play that night. So we'll probably push it back to Tuesday or Wednesday. Just stay tuned.
Yeah, it might be later.
Yeah. And then, Fonzie also said, it's been a minute. Go Niners. Sorry, Mike.
No problem.
Sorry, Mike.
Hey, I'm still in heaven from a 63-21 win, so I'm doing fine.
Mm-hmm. Man, I'm not gonna lie. That Bill Walsh story was great, Mike. I loved it.
It was good.
I don't think I've ever heard a Bill Walsh story that I didn't like.
Right. That's like,
it's all fascinating to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's almost like Al Davis for me, but not every Al Davis story is the best.
Yeah,
So
I've heard a couple Al Davis stories where it's like, yeah, um, it's
you know,
just yeah,
yeah, moving a team to LA, it's like, oh, okay, thanks.
yeah.
But
But we're gonna get into the 49ers versus Ravens preview. These are the top two teams in the NFL right now. The top AFC team versus the top NFC team. This potentially could possibly be a Super Bowl preview. Not saying that either team will get there. Obviously, there's a lot of football left to be played. The 49ers did clinch the West. So they're going to at least have one home game, home playoff game, which, maybe I'll make it out to one. Who knows? We'll see. Um, Man, I feel like the 49ers, you know, as good as the Ravens are, I feel like the Niners are a better team. They're a more complete team than the Ravens. I think the Ravens are, I mean, especially after the game last night, are lacking in, rushing threats. I mean, Lamar in his own right is a rushing threat, but I feel like this season they've kind of moved Lamar. They want him to stay in the pocket, or they want him to just look to throw the ball. And whereas in the past, under the Greg Roman offense, as opposed to Todd Monken, Greg Roman wanted Lamar involved a lot in running the football. And, they didn't have the pass catchers that they do now. Now they have Odell Beckham Jr., they've got Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman's still on the team. Bateman's been playing a lot better the past couple weeks. But yeah, Keaton Mitchell unfortunately went down with a season-ending injury. It was a nasty looking injury, and I feel like he was probably their best running back that they had left. Like, you know,
he was
Gus
playing like it.
Edwards. Yeah, Gus Edwards, is not a bad running back, by any means. But Keaton Mitchell, I felt like he just had so many explosive plays this year. And the Ravens defense is also, a really, I mean, they're going to be a tough defense to go against, but every time the 49ers go against a tough defense, it's like, all right, against the easy teams, it's really easy to get McCaffrey going. It's kind of easy to get Debo going. But once you get against teams that, maybe are playing, selling out to stop McCaffrey, to stop Debo, you get a guy that is probably going to emerge like Brandon Ayuk, and I am praying that Brandon Ayuk has a great, great game. But I think even when you get solid cornerback play, Brandon Ayuk has been stepping up to the occasion, and they don't necessarily need him in games where they're just going to blow out the other team. I don't know if this game will be a blowout, but it would be a huge statement if the 49ers were able to blow out the Ravens. Not saying it's going to happen, not saying it won't. I think the 49ers are going to prove this Monday, on Christmas, that they're they are clear they're clearly the top team in the NFL, or they're going to prove that, hey, you can't take the Ravens lightly. They could absolutely win the Super Bowl too. But I'm going to go ahead and give my pick first, Mike. I'm going 49ers on Christmas. How are you feeling?
I am also going with the 49ers.
Yeah.
I can't really pick against them anymore. I mean, I watched all of that Ravens Jaguars Sunday night football game, and it was a good game. Um, it seems to me like Ronnie Stanley's not healthy right now. That's the way it seemed. Which would be the Ravens left tackle, if I'm not mistaken. So I expect some pressure on Lamar Jackson, which doesn't always mean a lot. He can get out of it. He can make the big plays. For some reason, they just didn't go to Zay Flowers against the Jags. That could change against the Niners. I think the key is probably limiting Isaiah Likely and obviously limiting Lamar Jackson's ability to escape the pocket, extend plays, and rush for big gains. And I think the Niners can do that. And I mean, really, at the end of the day, the Niners, they can just simply outscore any team. So I can't really pick against them. I hope it's a good game, for the sake of, Sunday night Christmas, but I'm going to be at my mom's house with plenty of Niner fans. So Yeah, it should be fun. I don't see them losing this game. I really don't. They
That's
could,
why you
but I
wanted
don't
the
see it.
Raiders to win so bad on Christmas, so that way you don't feel like, you just got a lump of coal while everybody is like cheering and like, passing around the eggnog bottle.
Well, again, in the win-win aspect of it, if the Raiders lose, I'm just going to be sitting there going, because this is on Monday, so I'm just going to be sitting there going, okay, here,
Bah humbug.
no, I'm just beginning. I'm going to be sitting there going, okay, did the Giants win? Did the Bears win? Did the Chargers win? Did the Titans win? Did the Jets win? Because if any of them win and we lose, we're moving up a pick. So,
Yeah. Christmas can be great for the 49ers and still be bad for me, you know. Well, I
yeah,
don't
for
think I'll have a bad
fantasy.
Christmas regardless, but fantasy football, it's the playoffs, and just the fact that I will find out if I will be advancing on a Monday, on Christmas Day is going to be like, I mean, I don't think I'll
Well,
let it
actually,
ruin my day.
right. I was just going to say, because you would have Brandon Ayuk in that game, you will also find out at the end of the Niner game if you're advancing or not. Because
Well,
you'll need a big game from Ayuk, or you'll already have the lead.
mhm. I think no matter what, I'm going to, like, even if the 49ers didn't play, I would find out Monday because, typically there's like at least one player playing in the Monday night game.
Yeah, but my point. Well, there's 3 games on Monday because that's Christmas, right?
Yeah.
The final game is Ravens Niners, and you have a Niners player,
Mhm.
so you won't know until that Niner player is done playing. That's my point.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Brandon Ayuk, if you're watching this video for Christmas, you know, I don't want a lot for Christmas, but there is just one thing I need: a pair of touchdowns. All I want for Christmas is 2 or 3 or 4, or like, don't stop at 2. Just like keep getting touchdowns. It'll be a Christmas miracle, and I will drink as much eggnog as humanly possible if you get me to the next round of the playoffs. How about that?
There you go. Yeah, honestly, I know we're talking Niners, but that Raiders Chiefs game, if it can just be a close, good game all the way through and not a Chiefs blowout, that's all I'll ask for.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. But that's the show. Go Niners. Limit Lamar Jackson. That's the key to success. I think, Lamar has played better in the pocket this year than he has in any other season. And, you do have to keep an eye on that running, the rushing threat that he does present. But, I still see the Niners pulling it out. So I could be right. I could be wrong, but I'm picking the Niners. And yeah, that's the show. I appreciate everyone for checking it out again. Mike, do you have any last thoughts before we get out of here?
no, yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. All the comments are appreciated. Yeah, I'm excited to see how the last 3 weeks of the season go, how the draft order, pans out, how the playoffs obviously pan out, and then I'm very excited to again, talk the coaching search for the Raiders and talk the playoffs for the Niners and the rest of the league. So
Yeah, we will be doing predictions for all the playoff games, but like rapid fire.
yeah.
I think that would be really fun to do. But, until next time, everybody, keep an eye out for when our next stream is going to be. Probably not Monday, most likely Tuesday or Wednesday. So we appreciate you all. Have a great rest of the day, and happy holidays to everyone.